Well, hello, this is Vincent Green, and we're going to continue our look at Foundations of Exegesis. I'm going to talk about synthesis analysis. Synthesis analysis. You may never have heard of this, but it's something that is, this step is like the bridge between all of your exegetical work to putting together your sermon. So let's get into this. This is something that we're going to be dealing with moving forward. I mean, all of these analysis, these different types of analysis that I've explained to you in this course, it's just more introductory, just to give you an exposure to it. Because as we work forward in future courses, the genre courses, as we work forward in the exegetical methods course, exegetical methods is the new name that I'm calling. I used to call it advanced exegesis. I'm actually going to change the name to exegetical method, and I've updated the notes. If you go back and look at the current edition of the notes for this course, you'll see that that's what that says in there. I don't think I'll be changing the name again, but we're not going to have a class on advanced exegesis. It's really what I'm envisioning it to be. It's going to be exegetical method number 1 and exegetical method number 2. So still 2 courses, but we're going to be working through this part. Definitely, this is going to become a major part of exegesis for you. This step, this synthesis analysis. So in the course, I've given it 2 weeks to give you opportunity to get a lot done on it. Really, you have 3 weeks, because in the last week of the module, or of the course, the last module of the course is on application analysis, and that's just a video for you to watch. There's no assignments for you to do in that week except complete your reading, going through all the reading. And so this one is really a more involved assignment, and so we're going to get you introduced to it in this course. You're going to be seeing it again and again and again, showing up multiple times throughout the program. But let me go ahead and get started. So to define what synthesis analysis is, in completing the individual exegetical steps, you must consider how everything you have learned about the passage syncs together, comes together is the idea. How it merges together as you work towards answering the what, the why, and the how questions. Remember, that's the goal, right? Remember the goal? Answering the what, the why, and the how questions. The process of bringing together all that you have learned into a coherent whole is known as synthesis analysis, where the expositor understands what the author is saying in the passage. You can't preach what you do not know, so you have to know what the author is saying. That's where we go that's what we're doing with exegesis. So in the synthesis stage, the expositor answers the 3 questions of what, why, and how. Now, in the synthesis stage, the expositor composes the content notes that they will need to compose the introduction, body, and conclusion of an expository sermon. So here's how this works. You've been learning a series of exegetical steps. As we go into the genre classes, as we go into the exegetical methods class, as we're going to work through the book of Philippians later, we're going to have an exegesis of Philippians. That's going to be a separate course. Technically, it's Philippians 1 and 2, chapters 1 and 2 in the first course, chapters 3 and 4 in the second one. So you're going to spend a lot of time doing exegesis. When you do all those steps about observation and history and culture, historical context, the biblical context, and all lexical analysis, all of these different kinds of analyses that I've been introducing to you, we're going to go through them again, but in a much more detailed way as we go into future courses. But everything is leading up to this is the final step of the exegetical process, synthesis. And so when you have your synthesis together, and I'm going to show you what it looks like in just a little bit, but when you have your exegetical synthesis put together, then you're ready to think about how to make this a sermon, how to compose it in a sermon that has an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. Now, there's a course that's coming up called Foundation of Exposition. That course, we're going to talk about how to compose an expository sermon. I'm going to walk through the procedure, okay? in great detail. We're going to look at this. And I'm going to talk to you about how to put together an expository sermon. You're going to have opportunities to learn about that. Okay? So, now there's no exact model to follow when completing a synthesis analysis. Even the example that I show you is just how I do it. I'm providing you an example because I think it'll help you get an idea of what this looks like. But there's no set exact model. If you try to find something like this on the internet, you probably won't find it. So kind of we're plowing new ground here. The following examples should help provide some guidance on how this exegetical stage is completed. So, the inductive journey series that I'm doing on my Communicating God's Word YouTube channel, if you go to that YouTube channel, I didn't put the link there, maybe I'll add the link in here. If you go to the YouTube channel, you'll find that there are certain books of the Bible that I have been working through and continue to work through in terms of what I call an inductive journey. The inductive journey, when you look, if you take a playlist and look at it, you'll see, for example, the Philippians inductive journey. You can see that it's like chapter 1, verse 5, chapter 1, verse 6, or 6a, 7, 7a, 7b, 8b, 8a. You know, I break it down into its component parts in terms of verses. I just kind of work through the book. These are not sermons that I'm creating. This is what I call exegetical content. And I'm trying to, in those inductive journey videos, explain the meaning of the passage and give you the details. There's tons of details that I'm providing there. And I make these 30 to 40 minute videos. Now, to make a synthesis doesn't mean I need to make videos, but what I'm telling you is my inductive journey series, in a sense, it represents in spoken form what a written composition of what I've learned from my exegetical study of the passage. It represents my synthesis. So if you want to kind of see how this works, see what this looks like, watch some of those sessions. Now, I have sermon playlists on my channel. Those are different. Those sermons are different. They come from an inductive journey. Sometimes I preach a passage that I have not done an inductive journey series on. That's usually the way this works. But for the most part, like I'm going through the book of Genesis, doing an inductive journey of Genesis, of the book of Genesis. And as I work through the book, I'm learning a lot of things. But I'm also going back now, and I'm working through the book of Genesis, not every chapter and verse, but I'm selecting certain passages around the theme of the gospel in Genesis. So it's a series of sermons with that theme. Now, why did I come up with that theme? Just because I wanted to? No. But as I completed my inductive journey from Genesis chapter 1 all the way to Genesis chapter 17, I noticed this theme of the gospel in Genesis. So it's like I just knew that, okay, I'm seeing this over and over and over again because I'm letting the text speak for itself. That's what exegesis is, right? You're trying to glean the meaning out of the text, what is in there. So I'm able to now create a series of sermons on, maybe not the entire book of Genesis, but at least going through the first 17 chapters. And I'm not choosing every passage in there. There are some passages I'm skipping, but I have a series. And so you can see that I have a Genesis sermons playlist, the Gospel in Genesis playlist. And you'll see sermons go in there. And so those sermons are put together as a result of me doing a synthesis. And I do a synthesis because I'm doing an exegesis. And so I do all this exegetical work. That takes me to my synthesis. I put it all together. And then I'm able to take that information, that content, and make a sermon out of it. And this time it's not just one sermon, it's a series of sermons. I'm hoping to do the same thing with the book of Philippians. I have some ideas about the book of Job, do an inductive journey of Job, do an inductive journey of the Psalms, of Proverbs, do an inductive journey of the book of Ephesians, Romans, different books of the Bible. And as I do that, then I'm going to build sermons from there. And again, this course is not about building, composing the sermons. We're going to start talking about that in Foundations of Exposition. But I want you to understand that it's built upon doing a synthesis. And so that's just what it is. So my YouTube channel is purposely designed to help you to understand what I'm trying to teach you in the Master of Arts in Biblical Exposition program. That YouTube channel is going to have tons of it's going to have a mini sermons on it and mini inductive journey, which is like a synthesis session. It's like seeing, when you watch the inductive journey sessions, it's like getting a synthesis. And so that's how this works. Now, let me kind of give you an overview of what it looks like. So here's how you would proceed. So in a normal process, you'd be working through a passage, right? Doing all of the exegetical work on it. You'd be doing lexical analysis, observational analysis, contextual analysis, all of these different types of analysis that I've been introducing to you in this course. You'll see all of this take place in exegetical method. Exegetical method 1 and 2 is going to be the full board. It's going to be 16 weeks times 2, because it's 2 courses, 32 weeks. And you're going to see me take one Old Testament passage and one New Testament passage. We're going to start at the very beginning, and I'm going to show you week by week by week how you work through this passage. I'm going to teach you the skills that you need to know. Teach you the skills that you need to know in regards to all of this. And so, if you heard any noise in the background, it was my phone notifying me about something. So anyway, this is how this works. You would start with getting all of the materials together, content, everything you worked on so far. Let's say you had a passage that you were studying. You would go through all of the different other analyses. That's what we're going to do in exegetical method. The synthesis step is the end, okay, of exegesis. It's the final, well, technically it's not the final step. The final step is application analysis. But this precedes, the synthesis precedes application. And so we're going to be, like it says here in letter A, you're going to be taught in the following courses, working through all of these other exegetical steps in application to a passage. We're going to do this with exegetical method 1 and 2, the exposition of epistolary, narrative, poetic, and prophetic genres, those 4 courses. We're going to have 2 courses on the exegesis of Philippians. So you're going to be doing a lot of exegetical work. And so be ready for this. But this is just to give you an introduction to it. So here's how this works. You incorporate what you have learned already, ideally, right? You incorporate, in addition to that, any and all biblical resources that you have access to online and print publications. If you have any commentaries, any resources in print, use those. But if whatever you don't have, here's some online sites, and they're very extensive. I've showed you some of these before. Bible.org, Net Bible and Tom Constable Notes, the Enduring Word Commentary. Those 3 I think I've showed you before. You just click here and it'll take you to the site. You have Bible Gateway, Bible Reference, Bible Hub resources, Study Light resources. There's all kinds of commentaries here. The one I want you to click through these and just look at them, look over the different sites, but one I really want to show you is Bible Hub. So you click here, and it takes you to this site where you can access different commentaries. Now, this is kind of off screen, but I'm typing in Romans chapter 1, verse 1. There's a search bar, and when I hit enter, it takes me to Romans chapter 1, verse 1. Now, if you may see ads, but I want to show you how this works. So you can click over and get Romans chapter 1, verse 2, chapter 1, verse 3. So you can easily type in any reference and it'll take you to that point, okay? So let's just stay here. If you scan down the page, you have a lot of different translations, right? Different ways in which that is translated. And you get some information here. Treasury of Scripture knowledge gives you passages that kind of link to verse, what would be in chapter 1, verse 2. But what I really want you to see is you find the passage that you want, then you click the word comment right here. Comment. And if you notice, you got a lot of different commentaries here. Again, you get these ads. But if you scroll down, you have Ellicott's commentary. You have Meyer's New Testament commentary. You have Matthew Henry's, Barnes' notes, Expositor's Greek Testament. You have all kinds of commentaries, and they're free and available for the entire Bible. And so you're looking at your actual chapter and verse. See what I'm saying? And if you can scroll all the way down the page, and you get all kinds of things here, and even other links that you could go to. There's always ads at the bottom. So this is a site that makes money because of ads. But you can scroll over here, hit chapter 1, verse 3, and then the commentaries will change to cover the passage that you're looking at. This is like having a ton of resources. A ton of resources. You can click any of these and see where that will take you, and then get back to this screen. So you click that, just click this link right here, Bible Hub Resources. That'll give you some commentaries. There's Study Light resources. You got Bible commentaries. This is Whole Bible, Albert Barnes, Brian Bell, Benson. And some of these commentaries may be actually also showing up here. You never know. So it may give you, so these are more commentaries. And you can see their church affiliation. And you never know what could be helpful. Again, you're going to see ads everywhere. But there's all these different kinds of resources. Bible reference. If you go to Bible reference, you can see that there's some commentaries. This is what's new. So you can always select the book and say, let's go to Romans, see what's in Romans here. Romans, I'm going to do chapter 1. And then I can I can expand this. What does Romans chapter 1 mean? So you got chapter context. You can get some more information there. Book summary. And if I click the actual link, let's see what that does. Then it gives me a breakdown of the different ways it's translated. You get some resources here. Some helps. And so that's one other site. Bible Gateway. So you have different commentaries, and some of these, like Matthew Henry, is also on the other sites. This IVP New Testament commentary series could be helpful. Clicking in there, and this is the Matthew one, and so there's Luke and John. So it may not be every single passage, but like if I want to look at John chapter 6, 60 through 71, then you get that here. There's the other site I've told you about, but I'll add it to the notes, gty.org. I think I've showed you this one. So this one, you could choose your book, and let's go to Romans. And this is John MacArthur's sermon site. So all the sermons he's ever preached are here. So like 45-01, he did a series. And 45 means Romans is the 45th book of the Bible. Message 1, message 2. See how this goes. And so if you have a different numbering system, it means he probably preached it just as a special message. But here he was preaching these in 1981, and so 45-3, Romans 2-4. So I can click this, and then I can play the audio of it, but I'll also have a word-for-word transcript. So again, there's all kinds of resources available to you. And you'll maybe find more. And if you find others that could be helpful, you can send me the links, and I can add them to this document here. So anyway, you have what you have here is a lot of good resources that will help you. So how does this look? What does a synthesis look like? That's what I'm going to show you. So the example I want to provide you is Isaiah chapter 1, verse 21-31. Now, let me do this. Let me go to my YouTube channel. Okay, I'm going to show the playlist. And this will grow and get bigger. But you see that this is my inductive journey series of Isaiah. So Isaiah 1:1, you see how I'm labeling these. And you may already be familiar with these kinds of videos. Well, if you go down to Isaiah chapter 1, and then you look at verse 21, there was 21a, 21b, 22a, 22b, 23a, 23b. Okay? So I did those over, around 30 so minutes, 40 minutes. I went through those verses. Well, this was what I had in front of me. This was my exegetical synthesis. So what I did was I'm looking at the entire passage. It's 10 verses, right? And I'm looking at this, answering what is the what, the why, and the how. So that's the first thing I have to do. And it's the result of unfaithfulness. So if I was titling this as a sermon, which I'm not making a sermon yet, but if I would probably call this the results of unfaithfulness. That would be the title. Then I would have 2 outline points, 2 how statements, the indictment of their unfaithfulness, the verdict of their unfaithfulness. And there is referring to the people of the nation of Judah. So that you can see that this covers verses 21-23, 24-31. And how do I know this? Well, I did exegetical study. I arrived at the place where I could answer my what, my why, and my how questions. And the synthesis is where you need to answer those. It's one word, and then I have these, these how statements. So what you see though is kind of this is not a sermon. This is not really sermon notes at all. These are exegetical notes. And so this is what I was looking at when I was making those videos. So I break it down into indictment number 1, and then you'll see down here I have indictment number 2, indictment number 3. So there's a series of, I think, 5 indictments in verses 21-23. There's 5 indictments. So if you watch these videos, verse 21a, 21b, if you watch these videos here, these 6 videos, you're going to see that I'm covering this material. And notice how I've put this together. I've put this together using all that I've learned through my exegetical processes, observational analysis, lexical analysis, all of my different analysis, and then using my commentaries to kind of help me at the end. This is when I start looking at the commentaries. Then I'm notice how I'm picking the different words. Righteousness, that's the Hebrew spelling of it. And notice I'm just making, it's like bullet points, right? It's like an outline. And these things you may look at that and go, okay, I don't know what he means by that. If you watch the video, you'll see when I mention these things. Again, when I put my synthesis notes together, I put them together in such a way that they're in a form of an outline. They're bare notes, but I make it like a detailed outline. And the way I can do that is because I've been doing my own research, looking at the passage, doing all that work, in doing that exegetical method work, going through these passages in great detail. And then I've been also looking at commentaries when I needed to, especially after I did all the initial groundwork, and begin to work through and see what this person is saying and see, okay, do I agree with that? But I do my own work first, and then working through the commentaries that I have and the resources that I have. So this is what this looks like, okay? This is what this looks like. So here's what you're going to do. This is very detailed, right? Here's what I want you to do. You've been taking Ministry Clinic 1 and Ministry Clinic 2. And what I want you to do is take one of your sermons from Ministry Clinic number 2. And it has to be your sermon that you preached for number 4, number 5, or number 6. There were 6 sermons in Ministry Clinic number 2. And I want you to take one of those final 3 sermons, just one of them. And I want you to, I'm telling you to take that because you've already done some study already. You've already done some exegetical analysis to it. You've already done some work on it. But I want you to put together 2 or 3 pages, try to go through the passage, and put together not the sermon notes. Don't write a sermon, but compose a set of synthesis notes. Okay? Put together synthesis notes on that same passage. You may want to change the outline. You don't have to re-exegete everything. You don't have to do you don't have to do observational analysis. All of that. You don't have to do those exercises for this. No. All you need to do is, since you've already done some research on it, you've already done some study on it, you did preach it at some point for the Ministry Clinic number 2 course. I want you to take either sermon 4, 5, or 6, the passage that you used, and especially if it's a passage that's got a few verses to it. Pick the one that would work the best and put together a set of exegetical notes or synthesis notes that look something like this. Now, you see that I have 2 outline points. The second one is the verdict of their unfaithfulness, but if you scan down here, you're going to notice that I don't have anything on verse 24. I stop at verse 23. That's where this stops, at verse 23. So, so what that means is that's the end of verse 23. So I'm going to be adding more notes to this document. By the time you take this course and watch this video, even though you won't see it on the video version, if you look in the notes, you should have the whole thing, hopefully. That will be coming and from the time that I'm making this video initially. So eventually this whole thing will give you an example for everything. And so when I when I did my inductive journeys, I did it for verse 21, verse 22, verse 23, and then I got into verse 24. 2 sessions on that verse 25 by itself, verse 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31. And so I went through all of this material, and I used that to make the video with. But I also, what I'm thinking of is eventually I'll probably do a series from Isaiah chapter 1. I'm going now, starting in chapter 2, and there's 2 sermons by Isaiah. Isaiah chapter 1 is 1 sermon. Isaiah chapter 2, 3, 4, and 5 is the 2nd sermon. 4 chapters for Isaiah's 2nd sermon. And so what I'm thinking of is eventually, once I get through chapter 5 of the inductive journey, now I'm going to keep going through Isaiah in the inductive journey. I'm not going to stop doing that. But when I get through the first 5 chapters, I will probably start doing a sermon series on that. And I try to preach 1 sermon a week and post on the channel. Sometimes I'm not able to do that because I also have other things that are happening. But the goal is to be able to build sermons, compose sermons from a synthesis, from the synthesis notes. so that you can see connections. And by making these videos for you, what I'm hoping is that you'll do is, with this information here, that as you do your assignment, and if you go to the course, you'll see the directions for the assignment, what I just specified in the video. But what I'm hoping is that you will listen or watch a few of these videos. You don't have to watch all of them, but just watch a few of these and see how I teach through the material. See how I teach through this material that I have in outline form. And it'll give you an idea of how to process this, okay? So take the next couple of weeks, take one of those passages from Ministry Clinic number 2, either sermon 4, 5, or 6, a passage that would work, only a few verses. You don't have to do the entire, if you preach the chapter, just pick a few verses out of there. Something that could be one out, that has a little outline to it. And try to work through this process. I just want to get you acquainted with composing notes in an outline format. And if you learn how to do this, we're going to do a lot more of this when we get to exegetical method, okay? So you're going to be doing this much more. And you're going to be doing it from start to finish. In exegetical method, I'm going to give you 2 passages, one from the Old Testament, one from the New. And I'm going to assign you 2 passages. And you're going to be working with those 2 passages for 32 weeks, okay? You're going to be doing exegetical work on those 2 passages for 32 weeks. And it's going to be interesting. There's a lot to learn. And because I want you to learn the skills. And a big part of this in exegetical method number 2 is doing a detailed inductive journey or synthesis. I call it inductive journey when I actually make the video. But doing a detailed synthesis document on the passages that you've been working through. So again, exegetical method courses is where this is really going to come together. But I just want to acquaint you with it now, and so that you're not surprised by it when we look at it later. So hopefully this has been helpful to you. Let me know if you have questions. But again, work through this and work through all of this and begin to put together a passage, one that you've already preached, and go back and do the exegetical synthesis, putting it all together, just kind of the bare content of it, and watch a few of these videos on the YouTube channel. I will go back and add a link to the channel. Most of you should already have been acquainted with the channel, know how to get there, but I'll try to add I'll put it in somewhere in here where you can click in and go to the channel. And so just know that, and going forward, I'll also add Grace to You. I'll add that in here somehow and put that in here as well. So anyway, I hope this is helpful. Let me pray for you. And again, if you have any questions, let me know. Dear God, we just thank you for this opportunity to look at this process of a synthesis, bringing everything together. And Lord, using all these resources, these online resources, all that the student has already learned up to this point. Lord, as we go forward into these other exegetical courses, where we will examine this analysis and all the other ones in much more detail. Lord, I pray that you would give each student strength, help them, give them guidance, give them wisdom. Give you thanks in Jesus' name. Amen. So, blessings to you. Again, if you have any questions, let me know. Reach out to me, okay? Don't hesitate to reach out to me. Okay, take care. Bye for now. And I look forward to seeing what you're able to put together and post. Okay, take care.